Another week and a brand new episode of Doctor Who. This week's episode is Boom, which sees the Doctor stuck on a landmine, a restricted Doctor in the middle of a war zone. Quite the hard turn of events, which means one wrong move means certain death. How is he going to get out of this one? Well, everything's possible with Ruby Sunday by his side. Danger and death away at every turn. And the Doctor's going to need all his wits about him to actually get through this, and we know he does anyway. Making matters worse for them, but so much better for the audience, the episode was written by former showrunner Stephen Moffat. This is the first episode since the show's return, with the Star Beast not to be written by Russell T Davies. I wonder what a fresh voice brings to this new Doctor and companion. The episode was also directed by Julie Ann Robertson, who previously worked on the premiere episode, Space Babies. Let's see what the latest exciting Doctor adventure has in store. Warning though, spoilers in this video for Doctor Who. Boom, you've been warned. Greetings everyone, I'm Jack and welcome to Tardis Central. Before we dive into this, are you watching Doctor Who on the midnight release with BBC iPlayer and Disney Plus, or are you waiting for the live transmission on BBC One at around about 6 PM on Saturdays? Up to you. Of course, if you want to keep up to date on all the latest Doctor Who news, lore and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Tardis Central. You can also follow us on social media for daily updates on the Doctor Who universe. As always, please answer your thoughts in the comment section below, because if you're talking about Doctor Who, then we want to hear about it. Okay, let's go. The episode's core premise sets the Doctor stuck on a landmine. Moffat advertised this as taking something from the Doctor he's usually totally reliant on. While the overused sonic screwdriver doesn't get pulled out in this episode, I get the feeling that's not what he was talking about. By putting the Doctor on a landmine, Moffat has robbed him of his ability to run around the set. Both of the Doctors that Moffat created had a nice affinity for running around the set and getting up to everything. In turn, Gatwa reliably turns into an energetic performance. With this episode, we saw a very scared, very serious Doctor. The episode's runtime was packed full of some of the best 15th Doctor moments so far. Moffat really knows how to access a dimension of a Doctor's character, which is angry and frustrated and speech-making. This is something that Davies, as talented as a writer as he is, just doesn't tap into as much. There's something very fresh of Moffat's return here. Perhaps it's just the novelty of having a fresh voice tackling these characters. The guest cast were fairly memorable too. Recurring actress Susan Twist featured in her biggest role yet as the Ambulance. She played the face of an AI, forcibly keeping casualties high. For instance, John Francis Vader, played by Joe Anderson, was killed due to his blindness. As a result, he spends most of the episode as a hologram. Seeing the machine forcibly killing him, offering up empty condolences and non-existent thoughts and prayers was sickening. Due to this, she was one of the episode's most memorable elements, and again, why is Susan Twist here? Speaking of twists and arcs, the episode features a few interesting hints at the ongoing story arcs that Russ T Davies has introduced to the show. It's clear that the amount of that happens in this episode, that Moffat's pretty aware of where these are leading. Chief among these would be the Ambulance. It's her biggest, most prominent role for Susan Twist so far. For the first time, the Doctor actually sees her character. He doesn't seem to recognise her, which is the sign she's a new threat. Maybe next time she pops up, someone will notice her and point out, hey, that looks like the same woman. In a twist, a character was kept out of the trailers, release photos, and even the episode's credits or cast list. This would be the character of Mundy Flynn, played by Varada Sifu. It was announced in April that Sifu would be joining the cast for Season 2 in a companion role. While she's playing a different character here, this isn't the first time we've seen something like this. Mundy is similar to Monday, and Flynn is a name that ties to the colour red like Ruby. This could be an eerie omen for something to come, or it could just be a massive coincidence. We'll probably have to wait until next year to find out what's going on. Will this be totally unrelated coincidence, like Karen Gillian's appearance in the Thyos of Pompeii, or are we looking at a surprise early introduction like that of Jenna Coleman in Asylum of the Daleks? Only time will tell. This was a very fun and very unexpected surprise. I hope the series has many more exciting twists in store. It does keep us on our toes. The battlefield wasn't totally empty. There was Mundy Flynn, the holographic remains of John Francis Vader, with Canterbury James Oliphant, played by Barb Joshi, joining in later on. They're all ordained Anglian soldiers, at least spiritually successors to the ideas Moffat had explored with the clerics in Flesh and Stone. Throughout the episode, there are some very pointed jabs at the church, being an army for most of history. Moffat makes no secret of his political leanings throughout the episode. Not only is he clearly a religious, but there are nice criticisms of capitalism here too. A system where human life has no real value, expendable in the name of keeping profits up, the episode presents a rather extreme example. Although war-dependent economics are something we're not stranger to, started Deep Space Nine taught us that war was good for business. This episode taught us that war makes effective business. While there were hints of the messaging through Space Babies, this is the most political the show's been for quite some time. Science fiction as a genre is so easy to embrace for that hope it can give, and just as easy to love it for its pointed criticisms of the time it's created in. I really do want Doctor Who to do more of this season as it goes on. The style suits the show really well and made watching the episode a real delight. Overpowering the landmine was surprisingly difficult work, if a little contrived. There were some sweet scenes between the hologram of John and his daughter Splice, Alison Beta, played by Carolyn Springle. For a child in a war zone, she's alarmingly well adjusted. Seeing her father died doesn't really affect her as well. To be honest, it's more disturbing than anything else. The solution relies on taking the sentient hologram into the Villain Guard ambulance's mainframe. Yes, that Villain Guard. It also works on shots off a landmine, crashing over the ambulances, and in effect ending the war. This is the sort of resolution that Moffat specialised in. While a tad contrived, I can't say it didn't start to tug on my heartstrings by the end. Perhaps I'm blinded by nostalgia, but this episode left me feeling very satisfied, and it definitely wasn't just the fish fingers and custard reference at the end. The episode ends with a couple of questions as well. Who really is Ruby's next of kin? The recurring snow motif and that repeated next of kin line is clearly setting up a mystery about Ruby's heritage. We're going to find out sooner or later, but the question is, who are her parents? Abandoned by a cloaked figure on Christmas Eve, it couldn't just be anyone. There's a song in her heart, she's pulling snow out of nowhere, a very powerful being is behind this, and it's very exciting for a final setup. Boom was a really refreshing adventure. The last two episodes drove headfirst into the city, outlandish and camp. This was an immediate tonal shift, substantially darker, and the series is much better for it. For newer audiences, welcome to Doctor Who, where the show can be wildly different every week. These crazy differences are what makes the show unlike anything else on television. It's a really special show, and we love it. Next week's episode, 73 Yards, returns a writing credit back to Davies, where it seems to be a dark, scary, and actually Doctor-Light episode. I thought this episode would have a bit more Doctor-Light adventures too, although we did get Ncuti's best performance yet. Although once again, it will be a wildly different episode, we're going into a battlefield in a spotlight on Welsh horror. This has been really interesting and a varied season thus far. Very excited to see where this is going. So, what did you think of this episode? Did Stephen Moffat nail it, or were you not impressed? If you want to keep up to date on all the latest Doctor Who news, lore, and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Tardis Central. I've been Jack, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.